gaming news, join us. All are welcome. Let's go! HPCritical! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! HPCritical!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of HP Critical, a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I'm your host Jarrell, and today we're talking all about what a series is. We have a segment where we talk about what a series is, where we learn about what it is, where I personally learn about all about that series. And today, the series that we're going to talk about is Kingdom Hearts. From its inception in 2002 on the PS2 up to Kingdom Hearts 3 on the PS4 just last year, the series has spanned a number of games over the years, and we're going to talk all about what the series is as a whole. Kingdom Hearts 3 is the end of the Xehanort Saga, or the Darkseeker Saga, and with the end of that saga and Melody of Memory on the way, as well as all the games being bundled and easily accessible, what better time to learn about Kingdom Hearts than now? And to do so, I'm happy to be joined by some very special guests. We have Kingdom Hearts experts Brandon, Cameron Hawkins, and Chris Penwell. So first of all, thank you guys for being on the show with me, and I would like to know a little bit about yourself. So starting with Cameron, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a staff writer over at DualShockers.com. I've been featured on IGN, GameSpot, Inside Gaming, Spawn on Me, and, I love Kingdom Hearts. It's my favorite franchise of all time, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Can confirm, before this podcast, he showed us all his awesome stuff, and yeah, it's pretty dope. So I can confirm
super
he's
jelly.
a huge fan. Yeah. And Chris, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you are?
Yeah, so I'm a freelance writer. I'm a contributor for The Gamer, and I'm doing guides at Tech Raptor. I also co-host Active Quest every Monday. It's a really funny podcast about video games, and we cover the news, we cover reviews and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's a great show. So yeah.
It was super dope. I listen every week as well, so I am subscribed. Everyone who's listening to this, if you haven't subscribed to Active Quest, please do. The guys are awesome. Anyway, so what we're here for is Kingdom Hearts. So the first thing I'm going to ask you guys is, what exactly is Kingdom Hearts? And by that, I mean, in your own summary, what is Kingdom Hearts? When did it begin? What's the genre, the developer, publisher? What's its history? Tell me, as someone who has no idea what Kingdom Hearts is, what Kingdom Hearts is.
All right, so Kingdom Hearts started where a Disney exec and a Square Enix, or at the time, a Squaresoft exec met in an elevator and just decided to start talking. I'm not even joking. This is literally how Kingdom Hearts came to reality.
Yep.
They were like, "You want to try and make a game?" And then they actually started to do so. And it's a JRPG. There's more fun facts about that leading up to the actual launch and the development cycle of the game, but it's a JRPG by Squaresoft and later Square Enix, and it's original characters that are surrounded by Final Fantasy characters and Disney characters, more primarily, and you play as a young boy named Sora primarily throughout the franchise. Him in the original Kingdom Hearts, him and his friends Riku and Kairi are trying to leave their world to explore, and they just want more than what they're experiencing in their current lives. And then after things happen,
a lot of things.
A storm reaches Destiny Island, where they basically go and play during their free time, and they're all basically taken away to different worlds where Sora teams up with Donald and Goofy, who is looking for King Mickey, looking for King Mickey, but also trying to find the Keyblade wielder, which Sora is. And they team up and travel worlds to find Riku and Kairi with Sora.
All right, that sounds like the beginning, pretty much Kingdom Hearts 1, right?
Yeah, that's being Kingdom Hearts 1.
Okay, so before I continue, I do want to know how you guys got into Kingdom Hearts. And I'll just start. For me, I had finished Final Fantasy X. It was the first Final Fantasy I'd ever played. And I saw Kingdom Hearts in the store randomly, picked it up for the PS2 back then. And I was super excited because I was like, I don't really care for Disney that much, but I was super into Final Fantasy at the time. So, on Destiny Island, when you have, oh my God, who is it? It's Titus and
Waka and Selfie.
Selfie.
Waka
And
and
there
Selfie,
we
yeah.
go. Yeah, so seeing that, I was like, oh shit, this is super cool. Like, I'm so excited to see where the series goes with Final Fantasy. So that's kind of my thing into
So,
Kingdom
Jarrell,
Hearts. Yeah.
that must have been interesting then, because if you just got off Final Fantasy X, seeing Titus and Waka, and then just seeing them just on the island, that must have been something for you.
It was literally super cool. I was like, oh, what is this game?
I didn't have that experience because I had. Well, I'll go into it more when I go into my turn, but like I hadn't played Final Fantasy X until I was somewhat familiar with the series already.
Yeah, so when I played it and, they have Aerith and Yuffie and all these other characters, I was like, I have no idea who these characters are, but I know they're from Final Fantasy. So then I got more into Final Fantasy through Kingdom Hearts, and then, it kind of just expanded from there. But go ahead, Brandon, tell us, what was your introduction to Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, sure. So I had talked about it a little bit before on the podcast, but my first exposure to Kingdom Hearts was actually just a regular Disney Channel commercial that I saw. I remember the commercial vividly. In fact, I even rewatched it a few weeks ago for memory's sake, where it's just literally like this guy sneaking into the secret underground of Disney headquarters and the secret vaults and trying to find out what the deal was with Kingdom Hearts. And then he went into that computer, and then there's like disembodied computer voice was telling the intruder all about Kingdom Hearts, about how the main character, Sora, was going to all these different Disney worlds and essentially playing a part in the movies, essentially, and then going on an adventure with Donald and Goofy. And I saw the commercials like, this is the dopest. But the thing is, back then, I was like hardcore Nintendo. I like only had Nintendo systems, and this was a PlayStation 2 game. I only had a GameCube. So I was like, no. And, I don't know. I didn't know as much about the game industry as I do now. So me being ignorant was like, oh, well, this has to come to GameCube at some point. And so I just waited for years and years, and it didn't happen. Chain of Memories came out on the Game Boy Advance, and I wanted to play that, but I knew it had to be a sequel to 1, so I didn't want to go into that one first. Then 2 came out, and I was just like, I was like sweating. So eventually, I was like, you know what? I need a PS2. And on that I remember that Christmas vividly. I got Kingdom Hearts 1. Chain of Memories for the Game Boy Advance, Kingdom Hearts 2, and Final Fantasy X because I wanted to try out the Final Fantasy series all in one go. And yeah, that was my next few months after Christmas, just going through each and every game one at a time. I finished 1, finished Chain of Memories, finished 2. It was an experience. So I just basically blitzed through all of them. Days was actually the very first Kingdom Hearts game that I bought on actual release, and I've been keeping it up since then. But yeah, I've been mostly with the series since the beginning, is all that to say.
And Cameron. And then Chris, because Chris, I want to hear from you too. But Cameron, what was your introduction to Kingdom Hearts?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
But I just remember, I'm pretty sure I ended up getting the game the holiday season that it came out. There would be a kid's play thing where you're where your parents would drop you off while because I grew up in Vegas, so basically in certain casinos it would be a thing called Kids Quest where they would where you could just drop off your kids if you wanted to go see a movie or if you wanted to go gamble or something like that, and then there'd just be a bunch of games that kids could play, and then they had a PS2 setup, and I remember seeing and I already knew that it was a thing, but then I saw that they had it, and I think the save was already in Tarzan's world, so I just hopped on and played for a bit, and I was just like, oh, this is so cool. And my parents weren't super cool about me getting games all the time, so I had to basically waited out until Christmas to get that game, and then they ended up getting me Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2 as well, later down the line. So yeah, that's kind of how I got my introduction.
That is so cool.
That is really cool, actually.
I literally just walked into Target and saw the screen, the game case, and thought it was cool. And like, this guy has this cool ass story. Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I remember getting a PS2 with Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, and then once I finished that, I played the demo disc, and like on the demo disc there was a trailer for Kingdom Hearts. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! Holy shit! I love Disney." I saw these Disney characters. I saw Donald and Goofy talking to Tarzan. I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
That was the one that got me too, because I loved Tarzan at the time. I still love Tarzan, and so seeing that scene in particular was like, "Oh my god!" But continue.
So, I was walking by a store called WH Smith in the UK, and I saw the game for £20. And I was like, okay, I gotta save my money for 4 weeks because I got £5 a week.
That is so cute.
Once I finally got it, I absolutely adored it, and I fell in love with the game. And it's kind of like the first game that really drew me into gaming, and really made me a fan of gaming.
That's super cool.
Cool.
So since we're here to learn about Kingdom Hearts, it's really cool to see how you guys all started. I'm going to list all the games in the series. Correct me if I am wrong or if I missed something, please. So we start with Kingdom Hearts, and then we got Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts Coded, Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts 3D Dream Drop Distance, Kingdom Hearts Unchained / Dark Road, and then Kingdom Hearts 3, correct?
You could take a breath now.
I know. I was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, that's not the correct order, but those are all the games. And then there's also kind of like the 0.2, like
yes,
that's in the 2.8. That's kind of like a prologue to Kingdom Hearts 3.
Fragmentary passage.
Which, fun fact, that is a thing because Birth by Sleep was originally supposed to be 2 games, and Nomura realized like we don't have time to make two games. There's supposed to be a Volume 1 and a Volume 2, and Volume 2 was supposed to focus on like Aqua and the Realm of Darkness and things like that, but it just didn't work out. So that's why 0.2 was a thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So for anyone who is a little bit confused, because, I do follow Kingdom Hearts. I've watched a lot of the videos. I haven't played all the games because unfortunately, they weren't all released on the same systems. So, I missed out on a few of them. Like, I definitely missed out on Chain of Memories when it first came out, but I replayed it because it was, on the PlayStation. But so we have the summary of the original Kingdom Hearts, where we have Sora, Donald, and Goofy, and they're going on to, find the Keyblade Master, Keyblade wielder, and he's trying to get back to his island. How does the story progress from there? Like, how do we get to, Aqua and Ventus and Terra? And, well, first, before we do that, whenever someone says to you guys that the Kingdom Hearts story is crazy or convoluted or just ridiculous, what is your response? Because I really want to know.
They haven't played all the games.
Okay.
That's literally the quickest answer that you could say, is that they haven't played all the games.
Yes, that is the quickest answer. Go ahead. If you have more, I'll go ahead.
I feel like I've been talking a little bit too much. I know I love Kingdom Hearts now, and I want you all to love. So go on.
Okay, so all I was going to say is, that's the first thing, that you haven't played all the games. The second thing is, the series, I will give those people some defense. The series, Kingdom Hearts 1 is a very straightforward storyline. It does get a bit confusing later on. However, and this is important, like he said, that you haven't played all the games. It's the same as any kind of like story that's being told. Like, if you skip certain parts of the story, then it is inevitable that you're going to have some kind of confusions. Like, even as they introduce new plot elements that even can be confusing if you're not paying close attention, it's still there. There's the only thing that Kingdom Hearts fans, hardcore fans, really don't understand is stuff that hasn't been explicitly explained to us just yet. Like, even for all of its confusing lore that the Kingdom Hearts series does entail, there's very few plot holes in Kingdom Hearts. Like, I couldn't really even think of any at the top of my head. Like, if it's not answered, it's just not answered yet.
It's been covered, yeah.
It's been covered. Like they go in a lot of different directions, and there's of course been a lot of different characters, but it does get explained at some point, I
don't think Square Enix really helped themselves in that retrospect, just because remember, like before the HD collection and all that, all these
Right.
games are released on different platforms. You know,
Precisely,
PS2, DS, Game Boy Advance. You know,
Yeah.
PSP. So you had, like, for me, as I was growing up, I had to get all these different consoles, which is hard to do.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have all these games in one package now, so people can
Very
finally
much so.
play through them.
Hardcore Kingdom Hearts fans have definitely been in the trenches.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, for me, I played 358 coded and Birth by Sleep by borrowing someone's game and device to play them.
See, I skipped all of them because I didn't have it.
Yeah, I had to literally. So, like, for 358 encoded, I had to borrow my friend's DS and their game, and then for Birth by Sleep, I had to borrow one friend's PSP and then another friend's copy of the game.
Wow,
you have great friends.
That's dedication.
Yeah,
you do have great friends.
It was ridiculous.
I got a PSP as a high school graduation gift just so I could play Birth by Sleep. I don't actually have an extremely large amount of games for my PSP. I have maybe 4. The main I'm not ashamed to say that the main reason I got the PSP was to play Birth by Sleep because I really wanted to play
100%.
That's what true Kingdom Hearts fans do.
Yeah. Damn.
That being said, these new Kingdom Hearts newcomers got it real easy these days. And you know what? No shade. Like, whatever it takes for you to get up to this date with the series, go for it, man. They made it easier than ever. You don't have to deal with what we had to deal with.
What would you do if Kingdom Hearts 4 was a Stadia exclusive?
That's what I was gonna say. If the next Kingdom Hearts game is on Stadia only, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get
it. If it was a Stadia exclusive, I would go out, wait for a rainy day, go out, go on my knees, scream into the sky, "No more!" I get Stadia going.
And you'll do that as you upgrade your internet.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't even want to get into a Stadia conversation. So, anyway, we have Kingdom Hearts, right? And like you guys said, if you haven't played, if you're confused, it's because you haven't played all the games. So, I ended up having to skip Chain of Memories because I didn't have a Game Boy Advance at the time. So, I went directly from Kingdom Hearts to Kingdom Hearts 2. And in the beginning of that, I was like, who the fuck is this Roxas kid? What the fuck is going on? None of it made sense. So, can anyone quickly summarize Chain of Memories?
Yeah, no. So Chain of Memories, in my opinion, probably depending on the day, I think Chain of Memories has the best story of any Kingdom Hearts game. Depending on the day, because I think we see. Okay, let me explain the story. So basically, like, Sora, Donald, and Goofy follow Pluto to this castle called Castle Oblivion. And they go inside, and and they meet these hooded figures that are part of this organization called Organization 13, that are kind of the focus of the next few games. And as Sora and Donald and Goofy progress through the castle and get to higher and higher floors, they're starting to, their memories are being altered by a young girl named Namine, that is being basically forced to do so by the organization. And basically Sora is being manipulated to think that, like, instead of all of his, like, memories with Kairi, it's actually with Namine. And there's a called Riku Replica, who is basically like a created replica of Riku, who basically has who has been manipulated to have the same memories as Sora, which both are just not true.
Wait. So Replica Riku has the same memories as Sora, but those are the memories that Namine implanted?
About their connection to Namine.
Okay.
About their connection to Namine. So throughout the game, you kind of like fight him over and over again, and you're basically just trying to get to the top of the tower, or like top of the castle, and once you defeat all of the organization members that are there, you run into Naminé and you know, she tells you like, you know, I've been, you know, I was forced to do these things, blah, 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 blah. Like I didn't really want to do these things. And so she gives Sora an option to either sleep while Naminé reconstructs his memories to what they originally were before Castle Oblivion, or for him to keep his current memories as they are. And Sora chooses to get his memories reconstructed. So for the next year, he's sleeping. Him, Donald, and Goofy are sleeping in a pod.
And just so I'm sure, that is it. Him getting his memories reconstructed means that he's going to forget all the memories he had with Naminé.
He's going to forget everything about that happened in Castle Oblivion. Yes, so he doesn't know any of the, or because there are some organization members that survive Castle Oblivion and show up in 2, and he just doesn't remember them at all. So yeah, so basically. That happens, and then Riku is in the castle as well, like normal Riku, with Mickey. Because as Kingdom Hearts 1 ends, you know, Riku and Mickey are in the realm of darkness together to close the door to Kingdom Hearts, and they're trying, you know, and he's trying to progress through as well. And he's trying to basically find his own path to redemption. And as he's going through this part, I'm a little bit fuzzy on because it's been a minute. But like he as he progresses, he is confronted by someone known as Ansem the Wise, who is, you know, who plays a more prominent role in Kingdom Hearts 2, and basically is like telling him that, you know, you can basically choose like the path to like quote unquote light, like good, or the road to like darkness, you know, that type of thing. And at the end, he's just like, I'm going to take the middle path, which is the road to Twilight, I believe.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the road to Twilight. Which is very much representative of like, I love that moment just because, I don't know, like, just, I think I relate to it very personally. Like, when I was younger, like, I had like, really bad tantrums and things like that. I was like, you know, things like really bad, like, negative anger problems and things like that. And then, like, I realized I just needed to kind of rebuild myself and just kind of, like, suppress that anger, and just try and do what is, like, you know, what I think is right, what I think is like, you know, the best thing that I can do, but still accept me for my flaws and that type of thing. And I think that that's what Riku does in this moment. He's like, you know, I was manipulated by darkness, but I'm going to harness it for good.
Yeah, I think honestly, Riku, you know, from my limited knowledge, I think that Riku does that basically throughout the entire series. You know, he is a character who, if I'm not mistaken, was supposed to be the Keyblade wielder.
Yeah, yes. he was supposed to, but then when he got like basically when he was like unworthy, it was given to Sora.
Yeah, basically he said like the Keyblade, regardless of whether you're light or dark, you go to either light or darkness, your heart just needs to be strong. And Riku, it's a misconception that I think a lot of people have, is that he didn't lose the Keyblade because he was using the darkness. He lost the Keyblade because he said the heart was weak and worthless, and that's why the Keyblade was like, nah, fam, what you done? Yeah. And also, I just want to piggyback on something that Cameron said about Riku. That's something I really like about Riku's story in particular, and Chain of Memories, because there's not as much that happens in Riku's story in comparison to Sora's. That being said, his story is in a way more compelling, even though less happens, just because his story is all about finding redemption and acceptance in himself. Because, you know, he did a lot of bad stuff in Kingdom Hearts 1 for what he thought was the right reasons. So him having to come to terms with that in Chain of Memories, him trying to get rid of the darkness that he lets infest his heart, and Ansem being there as like the physical manifestation of that. But then him ultimately realizing, you know what, darkness is a part of me, and I can accept that and still do the right thing. And I think that's a very important lesson, not just for his character, but I think for life in general.
So before, and also, I'm going to say this, but correct me if I'm wrong. Before all of this happens, there is a Keyblade War, and then we have this Master of Masters who is in charge, and then he goes missing, and he leaves this black box behind, and there are these people with masks on.
You're going way too far ahead to talk about this right now.
But isn't that I'm saying this because isn't that technically before Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah.
Well,
like in chronological order. So like all of this happens before the first
way
game.
Before even.
And that's one of the like obvious flaws of the stories like for the franchise is that like Nomura makes up these games like one by one. He doesn't have like a roadmap. So, in Kingdom Hearts 1, they make the Keyblade feel like, oh, this is a unique thing. Only one person has this Keyblade. But then, like, when you get to Birth by Sleep and beyond, it's like...
everybody has a Keyblade.
Has a fucking Keyblade.
Everybody fucking has one, exactly.
You have a Keyblade. You have a Keyblade. Yes. You have a Keyblade.
Exactly. And I don't think it's particularly a bad thing. And I still think that, like, Sora's Keyblade is still like supposed to be like the Keyblade, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I would say though that there was an interesting piece of lore that came from King Triton.
Yes.
He mentioned that there were Keyblade builders in the past and they caused destruction in the world. So he was really wary of Sora because of that.
Yep.
Yeah. But but he has the kingdom key of light, like, and then Mickey has the one of darkness, like, so he does have like the Keyblade of in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna try to do this in chronological order, not by games, but just by story, just because I think it would be easier.
I would say it'd probably be better to do it. Because it's kind of like saying, like, oh, play the games in chronological order, and that's a no. That's a no.
Okay, then never mind. We'll continue on in that order.
No, I think this is good. What we're doing right now, for sure.
Oh, okay. So doing it in chronological order of the story.
I'll explain why later for sure.
Wait, you mean doing it in chronological order of the story?
In the release order of the games.
Okay. So then after Kingdom Hearts, what was I on? Oh, Chain of Memories. We got Kingdom Hearts 2. Does anybody want to summarize that one really quick?
Yeah, I can. I'll take you this one. So yeah, it starts off with a prologue featuring a character who at the time was new. His name was Roxas, seemingly a normal boy that lives in Twilight Town with his good friends. But weird things start happening into his town, and to combat a lot of the weird things that are happening in his town, including guys in cloaks that he doesn't know who they are, and a man dressed in red, he has to start using the Keyblade. Now, Kingdom Hearts fans at the time were like, wait, why is this kid with the Keyblade? Why does he have the Keyblade? That's Sora's Keyblade. Why you have it? The prologue kept going, and eventually he finds out that he has a connection to Sora, that he's a part of Sora, and he doesn't know what that means. And by that point of the story, a lot of people who are playing the game doesn't know what that means. But as he goes forward, he has to come to the acceptance that, Sora needs him to, Sora needs him to wake up, and so Roxas just kind of accepts his fate. And at that point, the story properly begins with Kingdom Hearts 2. Sora, Donald, and Goofy wake up from that year-long slumber that they had, where Naminé was getting their memories back. They, of course, remember nothing from Chain of Memories, as Cameron pointed out. So as far as they're concerned, they, Kingdom Hearts 1 ended, they followed Pluto, and then they just fell into pause, and they have no idea what's going on. But they have to come back to the worlds and find out that they are dealing with now two enemies, not only the Heartless, but Master Yen Sid from Fantasia fame and Mickey's Keyblade Master tells them that there's now another enemy attacking the worlds called the Nobodies, which are the remnants of what people were when they lose their hearts, strong heart people. And the strongest of the Nobodies form the Organization 13. Sora at that point has never heard of it, but of course we know from Chain of Memories that they were in the castle. Sora, Donald, Goofy just simply do not remember them. At that point, 5 of the organization members have already been destroyed, but there's still the remainder of them that are just, out there chilling with their mysterious goal. So they have to go around each of the worlds, dealing with the machinations of both the Heartless and the Nobodies. Maleficent, who was leading the Disney villains in Kingdom Hearts 1, comes back through means that have only recently been explained. and she is also doing her own thing, trying to, forge relationships with Disney villains to make the Heartless comes, but basically it doesn't really amount to much, at least in that game. The main villains definitely are the nobodies. And as they go to each world, they come to realize that the leader of said organization, Xemnas, is the other side of Ansem, who ruled the Heartless in Kingdom Hearts 1. So now they're fighting, I guess you could say, the second half of the main villain, essentially. So
I am gonna say something that bothered the fuck out of me in Kingdom Hearts 3. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Maleficent was in KH1 and KH2, and she was like the big baddie. So by the time we got to her in Kingdom Hearts 3, I felt like she was so wasted. Like, her character was just so useless.
Yeah, she was.
And it was so annoying because I appreciated her as a villain and, like, everything that she was doing. And then, when you come to 3, it's just like, oh, she's just walking around doing I don't even know what. Like, I have no idea what her purpose was.
Yeah, one of my main criticisms of Kingdom Hearts 3 is that all the boss battles almost, except for like Pirates of the Caribbean, were all Heartless bosses.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see
no, there weren't enough Disney bosses.
And even though it was heavily focused on Disney in Kingdom Hearts 3 as opposed to the other titles that had more Final Fantasy, there were no big bad Disney villains. It was just alterations of them in Heartless form. It was kind of like a cop out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I felt the same way when there were, like I said, I started the series because of Final Fantasy, and then when I read the news that there were going to be no Final Fantasy characters, I was like, what the fuck? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. But for KH2, I was super excited because I loved all the Disney worlds. The game, to me, was better than the first one, just overall. The story was better, aside from the beginning, me 100%. Not understanding anything. The gameplay was better. The reaction commands were there. And
so good.
I had also just finished playing Final Fantasy X-2, and I know people hate that game, but I loved it personally, and then I got...
Oh, yeah, they were there too, the gold
Yes,
wings.
I finally got the fucking gold wings. I was like, where's Yuna? And because we saw Waka, I was like, where's Yuna? And Riku, but I was like, of course they can't put Riku because, Riku and Riku, they have the same name. But it was really cool to see them in there, and see Auron and more Final Fantasy characters, piled in with some really great classic Disney characters as well. So I think Kingdom Hearts 2 was just really awesome. So after KH2, there was...
Wait, hang on.
Oh,
Before
sorry.
I continue, I got two quick notes on that.
Mm-hmm.
First off, just a little fun fact for people who don't know. I'm sure Chris and Cameron already know this, but Riku, Final Fantasy X Riku, was originally supposed to be in Kingdom Hearts 1, playing the role that Yuffie would go on to, but they ultimately ended up... Yep. And
I read that.
Yeah, Yuffie ended up taking the role, and which is why Yuffie has more of a Riku-based design as opposed to maybe a Final Fantasy VII design. Because
of the names.
Riku put her in the names, exactly. That was literally it. Like, they had the full design, and then people were like, "Wait, isn't this going to get kind of confusing that there's Riku and Riku?" So Nomura changed it to Yuffie afterwards. But yeah, even when Riku did appear in Kingdom Hearts 2, you'll notice that her name was never actually said. Like, she was there, but, the only name I think that was actually said was Yuna, where Riku called her Uni, which, she does in FF10 and 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's what happened with her. Oh, and the other quick note that I was going to say was, that's definitely something that I've noticed with the Kingdom Hearts series as we go forward. Disney has always been in the series, but it has never been as prevalent as it was in KH1. In KH1, the Disney villains were the main villains of the game. Like, Maleficent straight up had a Disney villain council together.
And it was so cool.
Which was so cool. So fucking cool.
They need to bring that back.
Exactly.
But the only reason why I understand why they've kind of skewed more into having original villains for Kingdom Hearts be the main villains, is because as the series gets more popular, and Nomura has said this on interviews as well, he has a lot less freedom with the Disney villains than he does with the original villains. So to tell the story that he wants to tell, the Disney villains unfortunately have to get kind of pushed to the back, which it is very unfortunate, because that was why we signed up for the Kingdom Hearts series. We're good with what we have now. I like these original villains, but it's just a shame that a lot of our childhood have seen these villains and you fight them, but they really don't do much from the story. It is a bit of a shame, admittedly. I'm glad Maleficent at least more has managed to distinguish her, even if she doesn't always do the most. So at least she's there doing more than the average Disney villain.
I would have a counterpoint though. I do think Sora's power level is too high as well.
Yeah,
he can't fight Captain Hook. Come on.
Because against Davy Jones, it was okay, he's kind of kicking his ass right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. But yeah, back to like Kingdom Hearts 2 though. I think it's important to note that like basically, throughout the game, Sora's looking for Riku still, and then finds out that like that Kairi was taken by the organization, and then they end up they all end up together again. Riku has like, oh yeah, you find out that like Riku, which it's kind of shown in 358. He basically has like this like, it's been a minute since I played 358, but like basically he is now like resembling of Ansem, and then but then basically he got turned back to normal Riku, and Riku and Sora, which is so cool, team up to finish off Xemnas, who is the leader of the organization, and you get to play as Riku for a short time there too, which was so cool. And then they end up on the island together, and man, that fucking, I will still to this day, coolest moment in a video game is when Sora and Riku block all those fucking lasers.
It's so cool.
Yes. Coolest moment in any video game, I'm telling you, like. So cool.
My biggest disappointment actually was I thought that Kairi was gonna be playable in Kingdom Hearts 2 as well, because she was up there with them, and I was like, oh shit, are we gonna get some Kairi too? And I was like, no, fuck, no.
But here's the thing, mate. In Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, you can play as Kairi and Sora. I'd say that's a highlight as well.
I'm still mad. Because of the fact that I was super expecting Kairi and Axel to do some cool shit in Kingdom Hearts 3, and they didn't. But that's just me.
But yeah, but
even the playing as Kairi was kind of.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But no, Kingdom Hearts 2 is a fucking masterpiece. Yes. It's one of the best JRPGs ever made.
Completely agree.
Like, even if you don't like it, like, I think people can still recognize that it is one of the best JRPGs ever made. It holds up incredibly well, like fine wine to this day. It is, I think it is a must play game. Like, it is my favorite game of all time. So straight up. So yeah,
I played it. I decided to play through all of Kingdom Hearts again before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. Spoiler alert, I did not. But I started KH2 again, and I completely agree. That game still really does hold up well. I know a lot of people didn't like Atlantica, the musical for Kingdom Hearts 2.
It's one of those things where I would rather have had that than what we had in Kingdom Hearts 1. So,
I also didn't mind Kingdom Hearts 1 either. So, like, I was fine with Atlantica.
I really didn't care for was the Chain of Memories one, because it was just another world.
Yeah, true.
I think it like it's fine. It could have like not been in the game, but like I think that's really my own, like that's the only real gripe that I would have with Kingdom Hearts 2.
But here's the thing: it's completely optional. It's a way for players of Kingdom Hearts 2 to have something a little different.
I loved it. I
wouldn't say it's completely optional, because there are specific magic up.
Right? Yeah, you're right about that. Sorry. Yeah, it's been a minute.
So after KH2, we go into Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, right?
Yes, that's the next
release. I didn't understand the title to that until I got through the game, and I was like, yes. Oh, okay.
And that's my favorite part about the title. It's the title that everybody loves to goof on, and deservedly so maybe, but like once you play the game and understand why it's called that, it's so cool.
I do want to say really quick, because I think it's really important, with Kingdom Hearts 2 was the secret ending, the secret movie at the end, because it was just so different from anything we saw in Kingdom Hearts before.
Yeah, it was very dark.
And it was just, no one knew what the fuck was going on. Like, we were like, why does this guy look like Roxas? Who is this chick? Who is this dude? Who is this bald guy?
Why is this old man dressed like Ansem? Why is that guy dressed like Riku?
I know, like Mickey's there? What the fuck is going on? Like, there was just so many theories. It was insane.
I remember vividly in 2006 when that secret ending came out of all these different like knights and the old man and the Riku look-alike. In 2006, the YouTube videos were filled with titles saying Kingdom Hearts 3 secret trailer. I'm like, what? No. And now people are making the I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but people are looking at the Remind trailer and saying Kingdom Hearts 4 teaser trailer, and like, have people not learned?
Yeah, no. But yeah, I just think that was like during that time, that was like one of the coolest moments in like gaming. It was just fans of the franchise like were just. I feel like people that didn't even know anything about Kingdom Hearts knew how crazy that like secret ending was.
Yeah. It's definitely a defining moment in gaming.
I'll say this: it did the post-credit scene before the MCU was even thought of.
Exactly.
That is very true.
That's a really funny thing though, because like the secret ending for Kingdom Hearts, like Nomura just did that for shits and giggles. Like,
right.
He did not know that they were going to get a sequel. He did not know like what really any of that meant when he made it. It was just like, oh, let's do this for fun, you know. And then when it actually like got a sequel, he's like, oh shit, now I got to actually figure out what this means.
And they did that really well with 358 over 2 days.
Yeah,
yeah, like that fight in the secret ending in Kingdom Hearts 1 was really cool. And then they had this high stakes kind of battle between Roxas and Riku, right? And that was really dramatic, really cool.
Yeah, but yeah, no, so 358, fun fact, is the only Kingdom Hearts game that was written by Nomura himself.
Oh.
So this is like, you know, he didn't just like do the story or whatever, he actually wrote the script apparently. Which I think people find like this game to be like probably the most emotional of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, first, definitely.
Yeah, and granted, I'm really fuzzy on 358. Like literally, the last time I played it was the first time I played it. I haven't replayed it in a minute. So I don't know if there's someone else that remembers the story better that wants to explain it.
I got this one.
I can do a little bit of it.
Okay, go for it, Joe.
But you know, this is we'll see how it goes. So as far as I'm aware, 358 over 2 is now focusing on Roxas, where we follow the story of Roxas, where he meets Axel, and he is a part of the organization, and he also meets never mind, I don't want to do this. Someone else.
I got it.
I'm gonna mess this up.
So yeah, basically we talked about how it's exactly a year after Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 are split by exactly a year, right? So basically, Kingdom Hearts 358 Days Over 2 basically focuses on the year between 1 and 2, with the last 7 days of the year being the prologue of Kingdom Hearts 2, which I thought was kind of like a cool thing. But yeah, we learned in Kingdom Hearts 2 that Roxas was in fact Sora's nobody, like his other half. But so Roxas himself, because of circumstances, really doesn't remember anything on his past the same way the other nobodies do. So he wakes up and is basically a zombie with like almost like no emotions. But Axel, one of the members of the organization, who by this point Kingdom Hearts fans are very familiar with, takes Roxas under his wing and kind of shows him the ropes about not just what you have to do to be a member of the organization, but also about life in general without even realizing it. And during this point, Roxas is also introduced to the mysterious 14th member of the organization who no one knew about until this game, named Xion. Has her hood up for most of the beginning of the game. Eventually, though, takes it off and reveals that she looks a lot like Kairi, but with also, like darker hair.
Just so I'm sure, this game also happens like concurrently with Chain of Memories, right?
Yeah,
correct. The beginning does, because Chain of Memories is like 2 weeks after the events of Kingdom Hearts 1. So the beginning few weeks does happen concurrently with Chain of Memories, but then eventually Chain of Memories ends, and the rest of the timeline just continues to 2, basically.
So when Sora is turned into a Heartless, that's when his nobody is created, which is Roxas. Right. And then Roxas is inducted into the organization. And then this continues while Sora is going through the Castle Oblivion.
Yep,
that is correct.
And also, Roxas and Xion are very important to the organization at this point, because they're Keyblade wielders. And with the Keyblades, they can unlock hearts and complete Kingdom Hearts.
And they're the only Keyblade wielders.
And they're the only Keyblade wielders that we can use,
which is why the organization was pushing Sora so much to defeating Heartless in Kingdom Hearts 2, because they didn't have Roxas or Xion anymore.
Yep.
And this game has a very unique structure to it, where it's mission based.
Yep.
You're going on missions to complete the organization's tasks. There's actual bosses within the DS game, which was really cool at the time. They weren't as designed as well as the PS2 counterparts, in my opinion. Some were pretty hated, but overall, like I thought it was a great title with an emotionally gripping storyline, and you finally learn why Roxas betrayed the organization. They teased that throughout the entirety of Kingdom Hearts 2, where it's like, Roxas, come back to us and stuff like that, like Demix said in the Underworld, right? Mm-hmm. So you finally get some answers, and this is an example of how Kingdom Hearts fills those holes that were left in the mainline games. So I feel like to really understand and appreciate Kingdom Hearts, you have to play every game. There's no spin-off title; they're all part of the main story.
Yeah, and the closest to a spin-off title, like a title that you don't need to play, is Coded. And I would just say that, with Coded, at the very least, play that game once just to experience it, because there are some cool things from a gameplay standpoint.
Yeah, it's very
that the
cool
game does, but outside of that, it's by far the worst entry in the series.
I would say that game is very repetitive, because you go into the same worlds again from Kingdom Hearts 1.
Exactly.
That we've already gone through in Chain of Memories, and you do that 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Recoded. So, I feel like it is the weakest one, but in terms of how it used the DS, it's a powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and then so basically Xion goes crazy, and Roxas has to basically put her down, for lack of a better term.
Oh my god.
And she's going away, and she apologizes to Roxas, and then she's just like, who else am I gonna have ice cream with? And then your soul dies a little bit.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, once Xion's gone, no one remembers her, because she is a creation of Sora's memories.
And the reason why she looks like Kairi so much is because it was taken from Sora's most important memories, which is of Kairi.
Yep.
Which is really sweet.
Which is absolutely sweet. And it makes it, and the game does a great job of peppering that in, because both Roxas and Xion can use the Keyblade. And to be clear, the exact same Keyblade that Sora uses. And that's because they're both different versions of Sora. Roxas is a nobody of Sora, and Xion is a replica of Sora created from his most powerful memories, which is why in the gameplay sense, you'll notice that Xion holds her Keyblade just like Sora, and they're both getting Sora's memories. But the game is very clever about it, because she gets all of the Kairi memories. So you assume, oh wait, is she a second nobody of Kairi? What's going on here? And then you understand why that is, because it's Kairi's memories of Sora's memories of Kairi specifically.
Oh yeah. Also something, just real quick thing that I forgot that we didn't cover when we were talking about Kingdom Hearts 2. Naminé is Kairi's nobody.
Correct.
Yeah.
Technically, and I don't want to get super far into this. We can talk about it off stream if you want. Technically, Naminé is Sora's nobody, but I'm not going to get into that right now.
I have a question.
Okay.
I'm not going to touch that either, because but I do have a question. So, what is the difference between someone gaining a Heartless and someone gaining a nobody? Because we've used both terms. So, why is it that Sora gets a Heartless? Or I'm sorry, a nobody. Am I saying that wrong? So
So in Kingdom Hearts 1, he uses I forgot what the name of the actual key is called. Key of
People's Hearts, I think.
I think something like that. And he basically uses it to save Kairi, if I remember correctly, right? He basically stabs himself with it in the heart, so he can release all the hearts of the princesses and Kairi, and then he becomes a Heartless, because he's kind of he's not dead, but he loses his heart, creates a Heartless. Another way to create a Heartless is basically to just be corrupted with darkness. That's another way to become heartless. And then whenever a heartless is made, period, a nobody is created.
Okay, so there's like a 1-1. So as soon as a heartless is created, a nobody is created. So Nominee is Kairi's nobody from when her heart was taken in Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yes, but technically no, because there's this. It's a really big like Kingdom Hearts lore thing with how each nobody has to have like a body host of sorts, and technically at that time Kairi wasn't the host of not like there wasn't a host for Kairi to be nominees, for Nominee to be Kairi's nobody. So technically Sora, like Nominee came from Sora, but is Kairi's nobody. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's something that like if you really want to look into it, like YouTube it or something. But it's a legit thing. Like there's an actual like ruling to like the heart and having a host body and things like that. So
there is something I want to bring up as well since he's explaining this. Both Kingdom Hearts 1 as well as Kingdom Hearts 2 have these collectibles called the Ansem reports as well. And basically, the story of Kingdom Hearts will tell you so much, right? But there's also some of the stuff, this lore stuff, that only gets covered in these Ansem reports. Now, the Ansem reports in both 1 and 2 are, most of them you'll get through normal gameplay. You don't have to read them, of course. They'll be in your journal for you to read at any point. But if you do read them, you do get some more lore. And it's interesting that there is some Ansem reports that are tied to like secret bosses. Therefore, if you want to get like the full background lore, there are some secret bosses you have to defeat. Like in Final Mix, the Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix, you can only get the 13th secret report by defeating the secret boss, and it just straight up name drops nobodies, which would be the main villains of Kingdom Hearts 2. So you get a nice little hint on the future if you went out of your way to defeat the secret boss.
Okay, so for 358/2. So Xion is created, right?
Yeah.
And she becomes, like you guys said, she becomes friends with Axel and Roxas.
Yeah, They all become really good friends, and it really helps them establish their personalities. It's good for Roxas because, Roxas and Xion, to be clear, because they both really don't have experiences to draw from because they don't have that much connection to the original host because of the circumstances. Whereas Axel, it's explained throughout the part of the story that he was actually, before becoming an organization member, best friends with Syx, one of the organization members who at this point was like, we just thought was just like a heartless bastard for lack of a better term. But then we realized that they were best friends at one point, but their goals changed at some point and they kind of became estranged, which is why Axel naturally became more drawn to Roxas and Xion. It kind of reminded him of his own youthful days and his old ideals. And, it just kind of drew a wedge in the friendship, the original friendship between Syx and Axel ended up becoming more friends with those two.
And they go into that in the Kingdom Hearts 3 secret reports, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yep. So, then, just to wrap up 358/2, Xion finds out that she's a replica. And then she also finds out that she's been taking Sora's memories or absorbing his memories, which is preventing him from being restored by Nominee, correct?
Yes.
So when she finds that out, that's when she decides to let herself die so that Sora can come back whole.
Yes.
And that's 358/2. Pretty much.
And then, and then also important to note, so the final boss is Roxas and Riku, Roxas fighting Riku, and then technically, even though you beat the boss fight, you lose to Riku, and then Ansem the Wise takes Roxas and puts him in the Twilight Town simulation.
Where the prologue of Kingdom Hearts 2 comes in. And then for those who had played Kingdom Hearts 2 beforehand, like the game of 350s literally ends with Roxas running through town saying, maybe today we'll finally hit the beach, which leads directly in the beginning of 2. And as a kid, when I first played that, my heart was like, oh my goodness. Like I got emotional during that ending.
Yeah.
Roxas said, today we're finally gonna hit the beach, and I'm like, because I knew exactly what was gonna happen next. It was like,
so for someone understanding the story, technically, as 358/2 is concurrent with Chain of Memories, that's why it goes into Roxas going into Kingdom Hearts 2.
Exactly.
Kingdom Hearts 2.
Exactly.
Okay. And then is Birth by Sleep?
Oh boy.
Yes. Birth by Sleep Birth by Sleep is Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, let's be honest here.
It's I would actually define it as Kingdom Hearts 0. I honestly feel like Birth by Sleep should have been, like, I really do feel like it should have been called Kingdom Hearts 0 because its plot is just as important. Like, I mean, obviously all of them have some importance. But Birth by Sleep was like a big one. It's what Kingdom Hearts 2 teased into. So I really felt like I like the subtitle Birth by Sleep. It's the name of that secret movie that we talked about a few minutes ago. But 0, I think, would have really enforced to people that are like, I don't want to play all these titles. That this one was important.
Because if you only play 1 and 2, you'll have no idea who Xehanort is.
Yeah, and Birth by Sleep, basically, because like once you're done with Kingdom Hearts 2, there's like just so many questions that you have, and Birth by Sleep answers all of them. Like, all of them. And it's just so satisfying, which is why I think that Birth by Sleep, like, again, depending on the day, is the best story in the series, just because of how it's able to like give you all the answers that you were looking for in ways that make sense and just make the universe that much bigger and better. And it fucking rules.
Birth by Sleep is the one where like Aqua, Ventus, and Terra end up seeing. I think, is that the one where Aqua? I know I'm jumping forward a little bit, but that's the one where Aqua meets Kairi for the first time.
Yes,
yes, it is.
Yes,
all right.
Which is actually a very important scene because, like Cameron just said, it explains stuff from 1 and 2. So her meeting Kairi is significant to explaining something that was wondered about in 1 and 2.
Because in Kingdom Hearts 2, people were like, Kairi's got a Keyblade, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. Explains why she has a Keyblade.
Yeah, it explains how everyone has can get a Keyblade.
Yeah, all three of them, quite frankly.
It's so good.
Right, exactly.
So, this one, I know that like we're, Jarrell, you're trying to get us to get through these games relatively quickly, but this one, like, there's a lot to unpack. So, basically, so Birth by Sleep has the 3 characters, Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. They all have their own stories. They all go to.
Sorry, before you continue, just wanted to clarify that Birth by Sleep chronologically takes place 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1 as well.
Yes. Yeah. So it stars Terra, Aqua, and Ventus. They're, all Keyblade wielders in training. The game starts. Terra and Aqua are taking their Mark of Mastery exam. And their master Ericus, voiced by Mark Hamill, and Master Xehanort, voiced by Leonard Nimoy. May he rest in peace. And they are like the ones judging them, and basically Master Ericus ends up promoting Aqua to Master, but not Terra, because Terra had issues concealing the darkness inside of him during the test. And at this point, basically...
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Of course.
So, as far as my understanding is, everybody has both light and darkness, right? Or no? Am I wrong?
Fundamentally, everyone should.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some outliers.
Yes, there are definitely outliers, but fundamentally, the average person would have both light and darkness within them.
Mm-hmm. So when Terra fails because he can't control the darkness, it doesn't make him like necessarily evil, right?
No. Of course, no.
No, but the reason why he's considered not a Keyblade Master is because of Ericus's kind of like clouded kind of like mindset on who
light
can be
darkness.
A Keyblade wielder, because he thinks all darkness is evil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Now
and
continue.
And then Xehanort begins like his plan to manipulate Terra into going to different worlds and trying to like get stronger and again just kind of get manipulated to begin like the heart, like the hearts of the princesses with the help of Maleficent, who Xehanort also manipulates because he basically tells Maleficent about the princesses of heart and blah 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 blah. Go ahead.
So this Master Xehanort is the same Xehanort that we see later on?
Yes.
And so that means that 10 years before Kingdom Hearts 1, he was still doing this whole, I'm going to steal the hearts of the princesses. But he was using Terra instead.
He was... So he told Maleficent about it.
Okay.
And then Maleficent started... manipulated Terra into taking Aurora's heart in Sleeping Beauty.
Because this game features the older Disney titles. Like Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, etc.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah. And basically he's just trying to learn how to, like, at first he's trying to, like, conceal the darkness within him and like be, prove that he's like worthy to become a master and things like that. And then by the time by the time they get to the Keyblade graveyard, he kind of like goes all out and like accepts his like darkness, or he just gets overpowered by it in a sense. And he also ends up on Destiny Island at some point, and he meets Sora and Riku, and he looks at he like kind of just looks at them both and just kind of examines them of sorts, and decides to inherit the Keyblade to Riku, because they just like, there only needs to be one more Keyblade wielder, not two, so he gives it to Riku. Which makes a whole lot of sense in the Kingdom Hearts like lore of Sora, Kairi, and Riku versus like Terra, Ven, and Aqua, because their names represent elements, and Terra and Riku are like basically Earth, and then Sora and Ventus are like wind/air, and then Kairi and Aqua are water. So that's supposed to be like a 1-for-1 comparison between the two trios.
So why exactly does he give him the Keyblade?
Why does Terra give Riku the Keyblade?
Mm-hmm.
Because he saw something in Riku that he saw in himself. He's they're very, Riku and Terra have a lot of similarities, and Terra really saw that kind of like right away, that Riku was like the oldest of the three friends. He's at the time, I guess it was just him and Sora. But yeah, of the friends, he was the older one that just wanted to get stronger to protect his friends. And that's exactly how Terra views himself compared to Aqua and Ven. Like he cares for his friends and wants to get stronger so that he can protect them. So he saw that in Riku, and said a kindred spirit, you might say. And so he trusted him with the Keyblade ability so that one day he would be able to fulfill that pledge to his friends, that, the same one that he carries to his friends.
So then anybody can just, like, any Keyblade wielder can walk up and be like, look like you deserve to be a Keyblade wielder, and give him a Keyblade?
Not any Keyblade wielder. They have to have shown the mark of mastery. Ericus did not make Terra a Keyblade master, but he had the potential to become one. Like Chris said earlier, Terra could have passed it, but because of his views on how Keyblade wielders should be, he didn't pass him, even though he had the power within him to pass it on. You have to be a Keyblade master or have the powers of one.
So any Keyblade master can give anyone else the ability to wield a Keyblade?
Correct.
Yep.
Oh. Yep.
Well, they have to have the heart to actually wield the Keyblade. They have to have the force within them to wield it.
That's true.
Just like Star Wars, I guess.
But like, as long as they meet that qualification, then yes.
Yeah.
Yep, and there's an official ceremony behind it too. Like what Terra says to Riku when he gives him the Keyblade is what supposed to be the official bequeathing ceremony. Though it's not necessary to say all that. It's just more of like a traditional thing. Because in another scene where Aqua gives the Keyblade power to Kairi, she does it inadvertently. All Kairi does is touch Aqua's Keyblade, and she gains the power because her heart is so strong.
Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, it was just like with Kairi and Aqua, it was just an accident. Like at that. And then so Terra basically just goes all like evil, or not evil, but like darkness powers and stuff like that, fighting, and then he ends up fighting Xehanort and Vanitas at the same time. Vanitas we'll get into later in Ven's storyline. And basically Xehanort takes over Terra's body and becomes Terranort. And Terra is stuck in his armor, and he's known as the Lingering Will.
Yep.
And that is how his story ends. He basically waits at the Keyblade graveyard, kind of in solace and shame of what's happened. And that's kind of how it ends. Basically, it's kind of like Revenge of the Sith, except for like, you know, he realizes his mistakes at the end, but it's like kind of too late. Yeah,
that's
and
a
then
very good comparison because I often compare Terra to Anakin Skywalker. They have very similar stories. Their endings are slightly different, but they have very similar stories. Their arc, that is.
It's also funny to see the comparisons between Ericus and Luke Skywalker. Like, because he loses sight of like his Padawan. You know, this is funny. It's really funny.
Ericus's actions in Birth by Sleep are very similar to the action that Luke takes in The Last Jedi.
Yeah. And that's actually also
you
something
must be destroyed.
Something really important. I don't know how I forgot to mention this, but like Terra strikes down Ericus after Ericus threatens to kill Ventus.
Terra beats Ericus, but Xehanort is the one that gives him the killing blow.
Yeah. But yeah, so Ericus is gone. And then so then we have Ventus, who basically shows up at the land of departure where Terra and Aqua have already been training, and he's kind of like a shell. You basically like learn that he is basically half of one person, Vanitas being the other half. So Ventus is kind of like the light side, and Vanitas is the dark side.
And he looks just like Sora, or at least Roxas.
Looks just like Roxas. Yep. Which is why Roxas looks like Ventus more so. That's why Roxas looks like Ventus because of things later. And so, there's Vanitas, who wears a helmet, but he has a similar fighting stance to Riku. And basically, he is trying to, again, he's just kind of like manipulating Ventus throughout the story, telling him that we're going to forge the Keyblade or the Kai Blade, depending on how you read it. And once you get to the battle of at the Keyblade graveyard, they end up fighting, and they end up basically fighting in their inner souls of sorts.
Yeah, their hearts.
In their hearts, and Ventus ends up partially unmasking Vanitas, and he ends up looking like Sora. And then they end up fighting, and Vanitas's heart is basically so weak that he has to rest, and he ends up being accepted by Sora to rest inside his heart, which is why Roxas looks like Ventus. And it's also why Sora can wield the Keyblade.
Yep, because he has the heart of a Keyblade wielder within him.
That is confusing.
Real quick.
Nomura's just filling up those holes. He's like,
here
we go.
That is also a reason why Sora can dual wield Keyblades.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Real quick, just a little quick lore thing, because Cameron did mention that Vanitas does have a very similar style to Riku. I think, as far as the lore is concerned, I think that's going to be the general fighting style of Keyblade wielders that use darkness, because Riku, of course, was the first one seeing it with his I guess, left arm stretched forward, and then the Keyblade held to his right. Vanitas does it too. And Xehanort in his youth apparently also adapted that style with the arm going forward, because we see it in other Kingdom Hearts games as well, with him holding the Keyblade like upwards. But Dark World, he explicitly uses the Riku style with his arm going forward. So it just seems to be a thing that Dark Keyblade use.
Yeah, it seems like it's like a fencing
aggressive style, which I guess is fitting for Dark users.
And then Aqua's. So here's the thing: like Aqua's story, like starts out at being like the least important to like the most important.
Yes,
because she's the best character.
She I think Aqua's fine. But so Aqua's story, and personally, I recommend playing through these stories in this order. Like they give you the order: Terra, Ven, and Aqua. I think this is the order to play the game.
Yeah.
So basically, Aqua is, she becomes the Keyblade Master. Ericus asks you to go after Terra and Ventus to bring them home because basically Ventus ended up just following Terra because he's like, a little dumb kid. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Aww.
And so she ends up following them. Yada yada yada, finds Kyrie and Hollow Bastion. I think she runs into Mickey at some point, right?
Wait. Why does she find Kyrie at Hollow Bastion?
Great question. First of all, we should clarify. It's actually, at the time, it's called Radiant Garden because it hasn't fallen to darkness.
Yeah.
But why Kyrie is there is because Radiant Garden is actually where Kyrie was originally born. This is something that we kind of, I guess, glossed over. But yeah, she did originally grow up in Radiant Garden. But Xehanort, or Ansem's apprentice, which took on the name of Xehanort, actually sent Kyrie to another world as part of his experiments on hearts.
Yes.
Which is how she ended up in Destiny Islands.
Yeah, and So Aqua basically placed a spell on her that if she's ever in trouble, she'll be sent somewhere safe. And then So then Aqua, they're all kind of going to the same worlds. And they do have these conversations, but nothing to really make note of. And then when they get to the Keyblade graveyard, Aqua ends up fighting Vanitas and Bragg, who is Zigbar's somebody, before he turns into a nobody. And also Bragg has a reoccurring role throughout each story. You find out that Terra is the one that blinds him in one eye, and you find out that Bragg is working for Xehanort, and then you also see other somebodies of the organization, Alexius is somebody, Zaldin somebody. You run into Lee, who is Axel somebody when they're much younger. Isa, which is Cyax, is somebody. They're friends. Ven meets them when he visits Radiant Garden.
It's cool that Ventus basically meets almost all of the original 6.
Yeah.
Excluding Bragg and Xehanort, I suppose. Well, Xehanort too, but
Yeah. So you end up fighting Bragg, and then once Bragg's the final boss for Aqua's story, and then depending on what you have to do, I think you have to beat the game on critical, or you have to complete Jiminy's not Jiminy's journal, but the journal and everything like that, similar to previous Kingdom Hearts games, to unlock the final episode, which is where you end up at Radiant Garden to fight Terranort.
Oh, wait, hang on. Just to clarify, the final episode doesn't require any kind of things. You just got to finish the regular 3 stories. The secret episode, which is in the final mix version, requires a little more legwork if you want to get that.
And leads into a fragmentary passage on
directly into it, even.
Directly into it. So final episode, you fight Terranort at Radiant Garden, and once that's done, you end up in the Realm of Darkness, which is the secret episode. And that's where you roam around the Realm of Darkness, and then you end up fighting this boss at the end, and then that is kind of the end of the game, where Aqua is kind of trapped in the Realm of Darkness for the time being, which leads into the Point 2 fragmentary passage that comes out, that sets up Kingdom Hearts 3.
Before we move on, I guess I also think that Melody of Memory is going to focus on Kyrie's time in Radiant Garden and why she was transported to Destiny Islands. So there's going to be that kind of context we're expecting from the game.
They did show her as a little kid. Makes sense.
In that arc.
Yeah.
Okay, so this podcast is going to be split into 2 parts.
That's good for me.
So this is going to be the end of the first part. Thank you guys for coming on to talk about it. Obviously, come back for the next episode so we can talk more about what happens in Dream Drop Distance and Birth by Sleep and all the stuff that happens before that I kind of hinted at. So thank you guys for listening, and we will talk to you all later. Bye, everybody!
See you guys soon.